In 1950, Sub-Saharan Africa made up about 8% of global births, but by 2100, projections suggest it could be up to 54%. That's more than half of all births. So while rich countries panic about failing birth rates, almost no one is talking about the bigger question: where are the births actually happening? When you zoom out, something gets uncomfortable. The places shrinking the fastest aren't just changing socially. Fertility is getting harder biologically, and more people are struggling to have kids. I'm Dr. Yvonne Verkar, a PhD toxicologist and mom of two, and I've spent decades studying how everyday chemicals affect hormones and development. So when people say fertility is just a choice, I think that's missing a key piece. Your biology responds to your environment, but not in dramatic ways. In mundane, measurable, day-to-day ways like what you breathe, what you eat, what you store food in, and what sits on your skin for hours. So in this video, I'll show you what's shifting globally and biologically, and the one place I'd start if you want to protect your options without turning your life upside down. Everyone loves to debate whether people are choosing to have fewer kids, but what if the real story is hidden in the numbers? Instead of just blaming personal preference, look at what people are actually doing. In countries with the steepest fertility declines, surveys still show strong desire for children, yet rates keep falling. That gap between intention and outcome is where the story starts to break. According to projections in The Lancet, nearly every country is expected to fall below replacement fertility by the year 2100. Only 6 countries are projected to stay above 2.1 children per woman, the level needed to maintain a population. So globally, fertility has already been cut in half. In 1950, the average woman had 4.84 children, but today it's 2.23, and total births peaked in 2016. Since then, they've declined by millions per year. This isn't a one-country story. It's global, urban, rural, east, west. Meanwhile, more couples than ever are using IVF, hormone tracking, and spending thousands on fertility supplements and treatments. But even with all that effort, conception is getting harder. If this were just about motivation or economics, we wouldn't see this pattern everywhere. And we wouldn't see such intense effort from people who do want kids. So if motivation isn't the issue, what is? Why is it getting harder to conceive in the first place? To answer that question, first of all, we have to understand what hormones actually do in our bodies. Reproductive hormones work like text messages between your brain and your reproductive organs. But in modern environments, those messages are constantly getting jammed. Why is that? Endocrine disruptors. These are chemicals that mimic, block, or confuse hormone signals. They're not just in pesticides and plastics. They're in receipt paper, skincare, cleaning sprays, and even the dust inside your home. And fertility isn't about dramatic poisonings. It's dose sensitive. That means small, frequent exposures are enough to throw off the system. You don't need a disaster to see the effects. You just need daily nudges, all pushing in the same direction. Instead of a clean, consistent signal like, now's the time, the body gets overlapping messages. A little bit of stress here, disruption there, until timing becomes fuzzy and coordination breaks down. When your hormone signals are constantly interrupted by low-level exposures, your body struggles to coordinate reproduction, and that makes conception harder when everything else looks fine. But how does this actually show up in the body? Can we see when fertility starts to turn off? This is often how it shows up. Everything looks acceptable on paper, but lived experience tells a different story. Cycles feel unpredictable, energy is inconsistent, and desire is muted. Something feels off even if it's hard to name. For me, it was menstrual cycle irregularity followed by a complete disappearance of my cycle for months until I started living low tox by addressing what I ate, what I drank, and what I put on my skin. Your brain, reproductive organs, and hormones are linked through something called the HPG axis. That's the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. This is your body's command center for fertility, and it constantly responds to your environment, like the type of food you're eating, how well you're sleeping, your stress levels, and other exposures. When things feel unpredictable or off, it's often because this command center is overloaded. And that's what I call the fertility switch. It's your body's on-off setting for reproduction. If your environment feels safe and supported, it stays on. If your environment feels chaotic or threatening, even in subtle ways, it gradually switches off. Those patterns, unpredictable cycles, more intense PMS, low libido, stubborn fatigue, are often signs that the system is being downshifted rather than being fully shut down. If your environment keeps signaling towards stress or disruption, your body responds by dialing down fertility, which means those vague symptoms that you've been brushing off may actually be your system protecting itself. So if daily exposures are the problem, what should we actually be watching out for? What's sabotaging fertility behind the scenes? Many people start by fixing the most visible things, swapping bottles or containers, but miss the exposures that actually have the most contact, consistency, and biological impact. Let's talk about 6 common saboteurs that feel normal but work against your hormones. First is plastic and heat. Microwaving food in plastic, drinking hot liquids from plastic-lined cups and lids, heat is boosting chemical leaching. Second, fragrance. Candles, air fresheners, and so-called clean scented sprays often contain phthalates that disrupt hormone signaling. Another one, PFAS, nonstick pans, air fryer linings, stain-resistant carpets and fabrics, and waterproof makeup. These forever chemicals build up and linger in your body for years. And these exposures lead to metabolic mayhem. The constant snacking, late-night meals, and processed carbs. These spike your insulin and cortisol, which interfere with fertility signaling. And then there's circadian sabotage, bright screens late at night, contributing to irregular sleep. These confuse melatonin and stress hormones, and both of these are tied to reproduction. And of course, greenwashing, labels like natural or BPA-free, distract us from the real sources of exposure. And without a clear plan, it's so easy to miss the worst offenders. While each of these habits feels small on its own, they add up to a constant stream of interference, and your hormones respond to the total load, not just the individual choices. Do you remember that stat I shared at the beginning of this video? Sub-Saharan Africa is going from 8% to 54% of global births by 2100. A lot of people assume Africa must be doing something different, that maybe traditional lifestyles are somehow protecting fertility. But the truth may actually surprise you. Here's what I mean. Most sub-Saharan countries are still in the early stages of the demographic transition. They started from much higher fertility levels, and they have younger population structures, which means more women are entering reproductive age right now, even as birth rates are slowly falling. But as urbanization accelerates and packaged foods and plastics, synthetic products start becoming more common, the same exposures we just talked about are rising there as well. So the story isn't just that Africa is protected. The story is that Africa is earlier. High-income regions have had decades of endocrine disruptors, ultra-processed food diets, and circadian chaos baked into our daily lives. Whereas Sub-Saharan Africa is moving in the same direction, but they're just not as far along yet in terms of these exposures. But by 2100, Africa will hold over half of global births, not because it solved fertility, but because the rest of the world reached low fertility endpoints first. And remember, this isn't just a demographic stat. It's a shift that will reshape economies, healthcare systems, global power in ways that most people aren't thinking about yet. So what can you actually do about all this? If exposures matter, is there a practical way to reduce them without losing your mind? The answer is yes. And I suggest starting with a 4-week reset that targets your 4 highest leverage areas: water, food contact, air, and skin. Week 1, focus on water. If you don't already have one, consider adding a filter that reduces PFAS, microplastics, and other contaminants. That way you can cut back on bottled plastic water. I personally use a countertop reverse osmosis system that's tested against NSF standards. I'm going to go ahead and link it down in the description below in case you need one. Week 2, focus on food contact materials. Stop heating food in plastic. Replace plastic lids and takeout containers with glass or stainless steel. If I'm planning to eat out, I will bring my own glass containers for the leftovers. I can't tell you how many times I've carried hot soup in a plastic container before I realized how easy it is to avoid if you just plan ahead. And over time, it becomes like second nature. Week 3, focus on air quality by removing synthetic fragrance sources like candles, scented sprays, and plugins. Improve airflow with ventilation and consider a basic air purifier. I have one in every single room in my house. We've been using air doctors for a couple of years, but I didn't get them all at once. I saved up and bought them over time when they're on sale. Week 4, focus on what's going on your skin. Replace your 5 most used personal care items with safer alternatives. Focus on lotion, deodorant, sunscreen, lip products, and makeup. This was one of the places I started swapping back when I was struggling with my fertility. Now I keep my routine as minimal as possible and focus on the products that sit on my skin. So I'll go ahead and drop links to the products that I'm using in the description, or you can also see which products I've tagged in the video. So aim for a consistent dinner and sleep window. That alone helps reset your cortisol rhythm. Once I started sleeping at the same time each night, my circadian rhythm became extremely regular. Just like how we focus on what we eat, I also focus on sleep more than ever by getting sunlight in the morning, putting on blue light blocking glasses at sundown, and switching off devices 1 hour before bed just to optimize my chance at a good night's sleep. When you reduce your biggest sources of daily exposure, you are lowering the total load on your system. And that gives your hormones room to function the way they're supposed to. But the biggest change isn't just what's happening physically. How does it feel when your environment starts working for you instead of against you? Well, you might start to notice that your body is sending clearer signals. Your cycles might feel more predictable. Maybe you don't have as intense of PMS symptoms as you did before. Maybe you sleep more deeply and wake up with more steady energy throughout the day. Instead of questioning every product, now you know what to look for. Instead of fear, you feel calm and clear-headed. And remember, this is never about trying to be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. It's about turning on your fertility switch and realizing you have more control than you were told. When your environment supports your biology, instead of working against it, you stop feeling like your fertility is something that's happening to you and start feeling like it's something that you can actually influence. 54% of all births in Africa by 2100. That number sounds like a story about Africa, but it's actually a story about everywhere else. It's a story about what happens when modern environments slowly suppress fertility for decades through plastics, fragrances, processed food, and disrupted sleep, while people blame economics or personal choice. Africa's share is growing because the rest of the world is shrinking. And the shrinking isn't random. It's tracking alongside exposure load. But here's the good news. You're not locked into that trajectory. The same environment that's pushing the switch off can be redesigned to turn it back on. Not perfectly, not overnight, but meaningfully, starting with the highest leverage swaps that we've just covered. Now that you understand how global fertility is being downshifted by daily chemical exposures, what if the very clothes sitting in your closet, on your skin, like your socks and underwear, what if these are sabotaging your hormones too? Watch this next video where I break down the hidden toxins in everyday basics and show you simple, affordable swaps to protect your family without panic. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.